And just finally, before we move on to the defence production issue, would it be unusual, do you think, if senior members of the government were to welcome Assange at the airport, as they would, say, a visiting dignitary or a visiting head of state? Well, would you be surprised if, say, the Foreign Minister or Prime Minister showed up at the airport?
Well, I'm not aware that that's in prospect. I find it perplexing. I mean, on the one hand, we either say he's a citizen who's entitled to consular support, and Prime Ministers and other senior members of government don't turn up to welcome someone who returns who's been through a difficult consular matter, or we say that he's a celebrity. We have to choose one or the other. And I think my view is that he's a citizen who is deserving of consular support and therefore shouldn't be given any special treatment above and beyond that. And certainly any kind of celebrity status, I think, would be deeply troubling. Now,
you gave that significant address yesterday and proposed a Defence Production Commission. Why?
I'm concerned about a number of things, Kieran. Regrettably, and it pains me to say this, that the demand for defence material, weapons of war, as horrible as it is to say this, is going to increase in the next few years. Wars in Europe, the Middle East, and potentially in the Indo-Pacific area mean that the aggregate demand for defence equipment is going to increase. If we just simply take our place in the queue and wait for global supply chains, or indeed local supply chains, to satisfy the needs of the ADF, we're going to be found wanting and potentially defenceless. We have to increase the capacity of industry to generate, regrettably, those weapons of war, given what is likely, what unfortunately is looming, as a possible war in the Pacific.
You've also warned, you're saying it's a possible war, but the possibility that you're suggesting, and we should remind our viewers that you were the author of the Defence White Paper back 15 years ago.
2009.
2009.
Yes,
15 years ago.
Yes.
Yep. So that was, you recommended a whole range of things, but they have not happened. So we're playing catch up.
Well, I fear that the catch-up moment has passed. The time to deliver major platforms like submarines, which are very complex machines, frigates, and other major platforms, the time has run out in the time frame of the possibility of conflict in the Pacific. William Burns, the director of the CIA, said last year, and I'm quoting on the public record material, I'm not referring to any classified information that I might be privy to or might have been privy to at one time. He's saying that in 2027, they have intelligence to suggest that the president of China has directed the PLA to be ready to launch an invasion. He hasn't made a decision to invade. Now, 2027, Kieran, is less than 3 years away, because if you look at tides and typhoons, the optimal time to invade would be about April. That's 33 months away. So we've run out of time for the major platforms. Now it's about bulking up the ADF that we have with as much that, by way of munitions, explosives, weapons, torpedoes, mines, etc., that we can possibly arm them up with should tragically war come.
And your warning about the risk of war has lifted from 10 to 20%. That's quite a jump.
What I said yesterday...
So it's 1 in 5.
1 in 5. What I said yesterday is that I think a conservative view of the likelihood of a war between now and the end of the decade is about 10%. If, however, like any modelling or conjecture about probabilities, you take a view that President Xi has got a greater appetite for risk, is willing to, if you like, double down on that bet, is willing to inflict pain on his own people. So if his risk appetite for the prize of getting Taiwan is higher, I say that the risk of war is as high as 20%.
Do you... I want to ask you about...
Which is a frightening number.
It is super worrying, and we
shouldn't be comforted by thinking that there's an 80% chance that war won't come.
No, we hope that obviously that doesn't eventuate. If Donald Trump wins in November, was and is a transactional leader. Is there the chance that he trades away Taiwan as part of a grand bargain in a deal that he does, say, with Xi Jinping?
I think that's an overly simplistic way of thinking about it. If you look at his actual performance in his first presidency, and this presumes that he'll come back and having won the November election for a second presidency, if you look at his first presidency, he was very tough in terms of pursuing America's strategic interests in two respects. One was this economic primacy, and secondly, its military primacy. I don't see him trading those two things off. I think the Trump administration, and certainly if you look at the officials who served and those who are now writing, who might well serve again, understand that trade follows the flag. If the American flag retreats from East Asia, the Western Pacific, the Indian Ocean, so will American trade. Just think about this. If China is predominant in the region, strategically, militarily, territorially, politically, do you really think countries are going to have stringent foreign investment screening? Do you think that they'll exclude Chinese companies from, say, building 6G technology? The whole dynamic of the region will change, and that will cost America economically. Leaving aside the question of the the semiconductor chips that are predominantly done in, built in, or manufactured, I should say, in Taiwan.
But Donald Trump does like to consider himself the grand deal maker, doesn't he?
And it might,
his book was called The Art of the Deal.
Indeed.
He could end up just doing that.
Indeed, we're speculating about the decision processes of one man. What I'm saying is, look at the record. They did not retreat from the Pacific, and they did not retreat from American primacy in the Pacific. If anything, they doubled down.
Well, it's been good to chat. I appreciate you coming in. Former Home Affairs Secretary Mike Pezzullo. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran.